With the release of Elysian Realm, we get to witness many aspects of the previous era that we previously only got a glimpse of from a few characters. Today, I want to talk to you about what happens when some people decide they know what's best for everyone and justify their actions in the name of the greater good. Kevin Kaslana is the man at the top of the World Serpent, in charge of enacting the goal of the organization, which shares humanity's triumph over the Honkai. While this goal sounds good, there are disagreements to be had in their method of achieving this. Their method is codenamed Project Stigma, which, long story short, is basically nuking places full of people and expecting some of them to become immune to the nuke, which in this universe's case is as likely as you getting a flame scion on your first roll. This plan is considered unacceptable by many of the characters, and Kevin along with the rest of the World Serpent knows this, but they see this as an acceptable price to pay for the greater good of saving humanity. So how does the World Serpent, more specifically Kevin, justify this act? Well, Kevin was a former student in the previous era who joined Firemorph to become a soldier in order to follow his close friend, May. Not Raiden May, the previous era Dr. May. Kevin would often end up making several sacrifices to achieve victory against the Honkai, like imbuing himself with a freezing ability to allow him to use the smash without incinerating himself. The side effect of that made Kevin unable to stand near other people without putting them in danger. This of course included his beloved May. There's this memory segment in Elysian Realm that describes the Herrscher of Binding disaster, in which it describes that Kevin in this battle might have exerted too much of his power that it caused death to many of his allies. Even though he defeated the Herrscher, the losses caused by him and the Herrscher were so massive that this victory might as well be called a disaster.
天下制裁。それがもたらした結果は僕の本意ではない。しかし僕が言った形勢は後悔という意味ではないんだ。君にしかできないことをやり遂げるには、まず君にしか背負えない代償を背負わなければならない。
Despite everything Kevin sacrificed, the Firemorph of this era would fail to defeat the final Herrscher. But this defeat was foreseen by Dr. May, and thus she left contingency plans for the continued survival of humanity. These plans includes putting people in cryogenic pods to survive until the next era, finding other habitable places that isn't Earth, observing other universes for ways to defeat the Honkai, teaching the people of the next era their knowledge, and if all else fails, Project Stigma. Kevin, along with the survivors, called the Pioneers, inherited Dr. May's will to see humanity defeat the Honkai. This is where the successor to the Firemorph comes in. Kevin created the World Serpent to carry out this will May entrusted on him. Along the way, he sacrificed so much in pursuit of this goal, and as most of the plans laid out proved to be a failure, he deemed it the right time to enact Project Stigma.
今回はおそらくさようなら。
待って委員長、他にも方法が。
そうかもしれない。しかしこれが私の使命。
The idea of actions being justified if their endeavors to achieve what is ultimately a noble pursuit is something that people have been doing since forever. It's easy to see that doing what's basically killing people just for a chance some might become immune to it is ridiculous. But the truth is, people have rationalized all kinds of insane things for the same reasons, forever. And I'm not just talking about the sort of universally horrifying examples like what you see in communist countries where government strips away people's property or force them into labor camps for the supposed benefit of society. Because there are examples we can see in-game like the 12th Herrscher from the previous era who gave no sign of malice or hatred but was imprisoned anyway in the name of humanity's survival. She was later slain for that same reason, and that ended up in disaster anyways for the humans of that era. At the core for this is the idea that individual people's interests and values just aren't that important. Kevin is the embodiment of the ends justifying the means, but as positive and well-meaning as the goal seems, more often than not, the greater good isn't a reflection of what's best for everyone, but for the people with power. And as long as people don't think about it too much or fight back, it all kind of works out. But it breaks down pretty quickly when someone challenges it.
あなたも自覚がないかもしれないけれど、ケビン。あなたは自分の心に隠された狂気と執念について何も知らないわ。律者が人類のために戦えるなら、人類は人類の手によって滅びることもあり得るって、あなたが教えてくれたんだもの。
違う。律者は人類のために戦うことはない。彼女はそうだったし、君も同じだ。
Of course, different societies should set some rules on what things people can do, but perhaps we should at least start with a assumption that everyone should be able to make their own choices however they want, instead of being forced to fit into a common goal set by some powerful few. This is what I believe Kevin will soon be made to realize, likely by the hands of Kiana or maybe Raiden May. A single greater good for everyone might be a myth, but the good for individual people that comes from tolerating who they are when they are allowed to pursue their own interests without having those choices taken away, that isn't. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. So what are your perception of Kevin? Are his actions justified? How do you think he might change in the upcoming story? Let me know down below. Until then, I'll see you next time.